Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about probability. A little bit later on in this video I'm going to also define a couple of terms that are important when we're talking about probability in general too. So the probability of an event, typically labeled P followed by whatever that event may be, the probability of an event tells you how likely it is that something will occur. And we can write probability of an event as a fraction, a decimal, or a percent. And the probability of an event ranges from 0 to 1. And there are specific categorizations for these two, as well as halfway down at 0.5. Anything that is labeled with a probability of 0 is what's called impossible. An example of that could be rolling a fair die and trying to get the number 7. And when we say fair die, I'll just show you what I mean by that. A fair die is specifically a die that has the exact numbers of 1 through 6. So something like this. A probability of 1 is what's called certain. Such as rolling a number that is less than 7 on a die. So it is very, very possible to roll a number 1 through 6 on a fair die. 0.5 is what's labeled as equally likely and unlikely. Equally likely and unlikely. So the probability with something that would have an event of 0.5 would be, say, getting ahead when you flip a coin, a fair coin. One side is head, one side is tails. You have an equal chance of getting heads as you do tails. So it's a 50-50 chance. Typically anything from a probability of 0.5 to 1, we would label that as more likely. We'll go over specific types of likely and unlikely events in later videos too. And then anything from 0 to 0.5, we would label as less likely. So this is our basic rundown from a probability of 0 to a probability of 1. From the definition, a probability value can never be negative or greater than 1. That is just very far-fetched and impossible. So let's take a look at some terms. We have event, sample space, and favorable outcomes. So let's talk about what each of these mean. An event is any outcome or group of outcomes. So an event could be something like rolling a die or flipping a coin. I'll just say rolling a die. Our sample space is all of the possible outcomes from this set of events. So what are the sample space items here for rolling a die? That would be the numbers 1 to 6. A fair die specifically, because we're dealing with the numbers 1 through 6. An outcome is the result of a single trial. So for favorable outcomes for rolling a die, let's say we wanted to roll an even number. So our favorable outcomes would be the numbers 2, 4, and 6. If we wanted to say what would be the probability of rolling a die and trying to get an odd number, then our favorable outcomes would then be 1, 3, and 5. Two different events. But specifically here we're talking about, in general, what each of these terms are. Rolling an event, rolling a die would be an example of an event. Sample space is the numbers 1 through 6, and then favorable outcomes for if we're trying to get an even number versus an odd number. Another example, briefly I can tell you this, would be an event could say flipping a coin. Our sample space would be heads or tails, and those would also be our favorable outcomes. It's either heads or it's tails. It's 50-50. So we'll talk about in later videos specific types of probabilities and events, but for the moment, here is how we will be labeling probabilities, anywhere from 0 to 1. And again, we'll write these as fractions, decimals, or percents. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later.